You are currently breathing a rhythmic cycle of oxygen and carbon dioxide that feels entirely under your control. But somewhere deep within the folds of your brain, in the ancient, reptilian basement of your consciousness, there is a pulse that doesn't belong to you. It is a legacy of terror, a biological souvenir passed down through thousands of generations, across continents that never touched and through languages that never shared a word. We call it a myth. We call it a legend. But as modern computational power begins to sift through the vast landscape of human DNA and cross-reference it with the shadows of our earliest stories, a chilling question emerges. Why does a child in a remote mountain village in Norway dream of the same winged, scaled nightmare as a child in the rainforests of the Amazon? This is not a coincidence of imagination. This is a ghost in the machine of our biology. Think about the statistical impossibility of it. Before the era of global travel, before the internet, before the Silk Road, civilizations with zero contact developed the exact same icon of supreme power and dread. In the East, it was a serpentine deity of the clouds. In the West, a horde-guarding beast of fire and stone. In the Americas, a feathered serpent that bridged the gap between earth and sky. They all share the same essential anatomy: the scales of a serpent, the talons of a raptor, the piercing eyes of a great cat, and the breath of a dying sun. If these creatures never existed, why is their image burned so deeply into the collective human psyche? Science suggests that we aren't remembering a specific animal, but rather, we are remembering a threat. We are looking at a composite photograph of every predator that ever hunted our ancestors, stitched together by the needle of evolution and woven into our genetic code. Imagine a creature that is not one thing, but a nightmare mosaic. It has the cold, unblinking scales of the serpent that slides through the tall grass, silent and lethal. It possesses the razor-sharp talons of the eagle that strikes from the blinding heights of the sun, where no eye can follow. And it is finished with the piercing, golden eyes of the leopard, the master of the nocturnal hunt that stalks the very perimeter of our ancestral firelight. This is the composite predator. It is the biological archetype of everything that could kill a primate 3 million years ago. Our ancestors didn't just fear these animals, they were consumed by them. The trauma of that consumption was so profound, so devastating to the early human population, that it reshaped our very neurology. We didn't just learn to fear the dark, we programmed the dark into our blood. The risk of ignoring this pattern is no longer just an academic concern. As artificial intelligence begins to decode the human genome with the precision of a master locksmith, we are finding junk DNA that might not be junk at all. Some researchers suggest these sequences act as a biological black box, recording the environmental stresses and existential threats faced by our predecessors. If the dragon is the ultimate predator, this hybrid of the snake, the eagle, and the leopard, then our fear of it is a survival mechanism that has outlived its original purpose. But what happens when a survival mechanism is triggered in a world where the predator is supposedly extinct? The conflict lies in our modern denial of our primal instincts. We believe we have conquered the wild, yet our bodies still react to the shadow of a hawk or the sudden rustle of grass with the same neurochemical spike that saved a hominid in the Pleistocene. Recently, an AI was fed a massive dataset, every mythological text, every ancient cave painting, and every recorded nightmare in human history. When researchers began to map these data points, they didn't find a random distribution of monsters. They found a specific, recurring frequency, a biological signature. This dragon code appears as a spike in neurological activity whenever humans are presented with certain visual stimuli, even if they have never seen a depiction of a dragon before. It suggests that the dragon is not something we invented, but something we were born to recognize. It is a preloaded software patch designed to keep us hypervigilant. But there is a darker side to this discovery. If this memory is hardwired, it means the price of our survival was a permanent state of latent terror. The discrepancy between what we see in the fossil record and what we see in our legends is the heart of the mystery. Paleontology tells us of dinosaurs that died out 65 million years before humans walked the earth. Yet, the dragon of our dreams is not a Tyrannosaurus rex, it is something more sophisticated, something that feels personal. Some theorists propose that during the long, dark epochs of human development, there existed a specialized predator, perhaps a species of megafauna now lost to time, that specifically targeted primates. This creature would have been the architect of our nightmares, the sculptor of our fight-or-flight response. When we look at a dragon, we aren't looking at a monster from a storybook, we are looking at the reason we learned to run, the reason we learned to climb, and perhaps, the reason we learned to use fire. Consider the role of fire in the dragon myth. It is the one element that defies biological logic. No known animal breathes fire. Yet, in the script of the dragon, fire is the ultimate weapon. In a thriller of evolutionary proportions, fire is the turning point. It was the first technology humans used to reclaim the night from the things that hunted them. The dragon breathing fire might be a poetic inversion of the truth. Perhaps the dragon was the creature that was finally defeated by fire, and in our ancestral memory, the beast and the weapon became one. The fire doesn't belong to the dragon, the fire is why the dragon is gone. Or so we hope. But the trauma of that ancient war is so deep that the weapon of the victor was grafted onto the image of the defeated. The fear persists. We see it in our cinema, we read it in our fantasy novels, and we feel it in the momentary paralysis we experience when we look into the dark. This is the genetic memory at work. It is a silent alarm system that has been ringing for a million years, and we have simply learned to tune out the noise. AI analysis of human sleep patterns reveals that predator dreams are most common during periods of high environmental stress. When the world feels dangerous, the brain reaches back into its oldest files and pulls out the dragon. It uses the most terrifying image it possesses to prepare the body for a threat it cannot see. We are living in a digital age, but we are operating on an ancient, terrified operating system that is constantly scanning for scales in the shadows. There is a growing tension between our technological advancement and this biological inheritance. As we spend more time in artificial environments, the dragon code has fewer places to manifest. But it doesn't disappear, it mutates. The shadow on the wall becomes a hooded figure, the rustle in the leaves becomes a glitch in the security camera, the primal fear of the winged hunter becomes a modern paranoia about surveillance and unseen forces. We are projecting our ancient, hardwired fears onto the modern world because the amygdala requires a monster to justify its own existence. The conflict is no longer between man and beast, but between man and his own evolutionary shadow. We are searching for the dragon in the clouds because we cannot handle the fact that it is actually living inside our skulls. If we were to successfully use AI to edit this genetic memory, to delete the dragon code from our DNA, what would we lose? Some biologists argue that this primal fear is the root of human creativity. The need to imagine a monster is the same impulse that allows us to imagine a god, a future, or a solution to a problem. Our dread and our wonder are two sides of the same coin. Without the dragon, we might never have felt the need to build walls, to form tribes, or to reach for the stars. The predator made us what we are. It hunted us until we became smart enough to hunt it back. The extinction of the beast was the birth of the human. If we remove the ghost, we might accidentally delete the machine itself. Yet, the risk remains that we are misinterpreting the data. What if the dragon isn't a memory of a predator from the past, but a biological warning about a vulnerability in our future? Some researchers look at the universality of the dragon as a map of the human nervous system itself. The long, winding body represents the spinal cord, the fire represents the spark of consciousness, the wings represent the transcendence of thought. In this view, we aren't remembering a monster, we are looking at a mirror. The dragon is the physical manifestation of the raw, untamed power of the human brain, a power that can protect us or consume us depending on how it is handled. This makes the dragon the ultimate internal conflict, a beast that must be tamed every single day. The dark thriller of our existence is that we are the only species on Earth that carries the detailed blueprint of its own destruction in its blood. We walk through high-tech cities, clutching smartphones that have more processing power than the Apollo missions, while our brains are still scanning the horizon for a winged shadow that hasn't been seen in an eternity. We are a walking contradiction, a spacefaring civilization powered by a reptilian fear. The conflict isn't in the sky, it's in the gap between our logic and our instinct. We are modern gods built on a foundation of ancient, shivering prey. As we move further into the 21st century, the dragon code is being activated in new and unsettling ways. Mass anxiety, the feeling of being watched, the inexplicable dread of the unknown, these are the modern echoes of the dragon's roar. We are living in a state of constant, low-level activation of our ancient survival systems. The predator isn't in the woods anymore, it's in the headlines, it's in the algorithms, and it's in the way we look at strangers. We have taken the old snake-eagle-cat fear and applied it to every aspect of our lives. The dragon has become decentralized, 1,000 tiny fears instead of one great beast. What happens if the code is triggered fully? If a global event pushes us back into a state of primal survival, will the dragon return to the forefront of our consciousness? There are documented cases of people under extreme duress, shipwreck survivors, soldiers in isolation, those lost in the deep wilderness, hallucinating archetypal figures that they have never seen in books or movies. The brain, when pushed to its limit, reverts to its factory settings. It pulls the most effective fear responses from the genetic basement. In those moments of total psychological breakdown, the dragon is as real as the person standing in front of you. It is a biological emergency protocol, a final defense mechanism that turns us back into the desperate, hyper-alert primates we once were. This is the ultimate secret of the genetic memory. The dragon was never meant to be a story we tell our children to entertain them. It was a manual for survival. It was a way for our ancestors to say, this is what death looks like. This is the shape of the thing that wants to end your line. Remember it. Pass it on. Never let the guard down. We have turned it into a myth because we wanted to believe we were safe. We wanted to believe that the world is a rational, documented place where every creature has been catalogued and every shadow explained. But the patterns in our DNA and the patterns in our stories are identical. The dragon is still there, coiled in the dark corners of our genome, waiting for a reason to wake up. The next time you feel a sudden, irrational chill when you're alone, or the next time you find yourself staring at an ancient painting of a winged beast and feel a strange sense of recognition, don't dismiss it as mere imagination. That is the code speaking to you. That is the million-year-old warning light flashing in your blood. We are not as far from the cave as we like to think. We are just better at hiding the fear under layers of concrete and glass. But the dragon doesn't care about our buildings or our technology. It is a predator of the soul, a hunter of the deep mind, and it is patient. It has been with us since the beginning, and it will be there at the end, a silent, scaled witness to the rise and fall of a species that tried to forget its own origins. We are the keepers of a legacy we don't fully understand. The Dragon Code is a testament to the resilience of life and the persistence of memory. It reminds us that we are the survivors of a long and bloody war against a world that wanted to consume us. Every time we tell a story of a hero slaying a dragon, we are reenacting the fundamental victory of the human spirit over its most ancient terror. But the victory is never permanent. The dragon cannot be killed because it is a part of us. It is the fire in our ambition and the scale on our skin. To destroy the dragon would be to destroy the very thing that made us human. As the screens flicker and the AI continues its relentless crawl through our biological history, the image of the dragon becomes clearer, not as a creature of flesh and bone, but as a masterpiece of evolutionary engineering. It is the ultimate deterrent, the perfect ghost. We may never find a fossil of a fire-breathing serpent, but we don't need to. The evidence is in the way your heart races when the lights go out. The evidence is in the universal symbols of our ancestors. The evidence is in you. The dragon is not a myth. It is a memory. And memories, especially the ones written in blood, never truly die. They just wait for the right moment to remind us who the real masters of the world used to be. Tonight, when you turn off the lights and feel that sudden, inexplicable jolt of electricity run down your spine, ask yourself, is it just your imagination, or is the dragon code within you sounding an alarm? Are you reacting to a shadow, or are you recognizing a predator that your blood hasn't forgotten in 3 million years? Perhaps the most frightening thought isn't that the dragon is real, but that it has survived within us for so long that we can no longer tell where the monster ends and where we begin. Keep your eyes on the shadows, and listen to the pulse in your ears. The code is active. The memory is awake. And the dragon is always, always hungry. What does your dragon look like when you close your eyes?